is Victor. I'm here with a new Blast from the Past video, and this time I want to talk about the Warhammer Quest. So this was the Spanish edition that was published in the 90's. Okay, so this is the Warhammer Quest, this is the Spanish version. You will see that they have some English elements that I also add to my Warhammer Quest game. So I just removed the case from here because I have take all elements out, and I want to share with you what was inside. Of course, inside the first book, the first thing that you're going to see is the book of the rules. Okay, as used to be in this period was black and white, printing one color, and here you see the different things that were inside of the book. So you see that the word of the game, so the different plastic elements, the initial heroes. So you see that they were all the information, and there were the different scenarios and also how to go. So all the different rules. The rules were all based in the old system of Warhammer Fantasy. So comparing abilities and so on. So you will see this in more detail later on. I will show you when you see there were then the control elements. This was the character page that you print to have the follow-ups on the different characters, and then we have other things. So this was the rule book. Okay, what was the miniatures in that period? So let me show first the miniatures. These are the miniatures that I painted. These are the only ones I paint from this period, from this game set. You see that they are quite simple looking miniatures, just one plastic part, no multi-component, quite static the design, but these were one of the first nice plastic miniatures painted done by Games Workshop. Okay, here we see another one. This is the elf. Okay, this is the other hero, the elf. We see the I did even a tutorial on how to do this elf, and then I have two others that I never paint. This is the barbarian, and this is the dwarf. And as you can see, the dwarf, this is very easy. So this is just two molding directions. So this is the one side in that direction and the other side in that direction. So all one piece. And then we also had here, I have here all the different monsters. So this was the Minotaur, quite simple versus what we are used today. Okay. We had these nice spiders, so this was a very fun ones. We have snorlings, we had orcs, we had bats, orcs with arrows, okay, and we have of course the goblins. Okay, all this was coming, and sorry, this goblin was not from this set. These were the goblins coming in this set. I don't know where I take this goblin from. To be fair, I just mixed some. So we had the goblin with a spear and the goblin with arrow. Okay, so this was, and then the Skaven that I paint them. Just let me go for the Skaven. This is the Skavens that were coming in the box. Okay, so these are the monsters that you had from this set, and with that you had some games. So this was the miniatures from the game. Let me take this out, and then of course, as you see today, they were tails, and in the case these were the type of tails. Let me zoom out a little bit again. So these were the tails that were coming in the game. More traditional type of dungeon crawling type of tails, not nothing really. So more the traditional, not like today. More similar to what we have in the Hammer Hall. So there are some nice printed tails. This one is quite nice. You can see. So this was the tomb. So, and this was normally the end room. So these big ones were the end room. Were some adventures. Okay. And these were the different elements. The other thing that was interesting, okay, on the Warhammer Fantasy. This is on the Warhammer Quest. These were the cards of the. Let me just remove this from here. These were the cards from the heroes. Okay, and they were more similar to what we see on the role game. So we had the elf, the sorcerer, the barbarian, and the dwarf. Let me just show you one in more detail. So normally this was one. Each one have their own rules, their own things. especially the sorcerer that have the power, the quantitative power, and the current power. So they all have wounds, they have movement, weapon skill, shooting skill, so they have ballistic skill and weapon skill. They have strength, resistance, initiative, so toughness, sorry, initiative, and number of attacks. So very similar to the profile that we see in Warhammer Fantasy. The only difference is that they have multiple wounds, and then here at the bottom you have the role that you have to take depending on the ability of the opponent. And then each weapon was causing a number of wounds as well. So this was more like the traditional, I will say traditional type of role games, and then we had different magical objects for each one of them. But then they were coming more expansions of this Warhammer Quest, and here I have some of the expansions. So I think this was from a White Dwarf, if I'm not wrong. They were the expansions to have more type of characters. We have the how it's called this? I forgot. The priest, warrior, the scout, elf, the dancing warrior. So the slayer, the pitch and gladiator, and the pit gladiator, and the chaos warrior. So you see they were also from different alliances, and of course they all were coming with their own object, magical objects. Each one goes from one of the previous character. Okay, so this is sorry. So you have all the different objects for the previous one. So this was the first expansion, and then we also had in the game was coming with some powers, but we see that we have different. So the sorcerer was able to have quite a different variation of powers. Okay, from healing powers to attacking powers to defensive powers. So, and this was also quite interesting. So quite a big variety. But then I had more expansions in English. This was one expansion to have a lot of treasure objects. Okay, and then we had here is how to make the adventure. And I had more and more treasure objects and more that I haven't opened. But the thing that was interesting for me, and this is the last, is this thing here. You see, it's called Warhammer Quest Role Player. Let me zoom out a little bit so you will see this. So this was a Warhammer Quest Role Player, and what it was is a really big expansion of the Warhammer Quest. So you keep playing on the tails. You see the tails are there, but then you have at the end a big. You have more rules to increase the experience. So you have way to make experience, to use the gold, to buy objects. It was mainly on dungeon crawling, but you see, depending how you were, so you have levels of experience for each character, and this was quite interesting, and it was very easy. So for me this was a quite basic type of role game, where it's basically focused on fighting in dungeons, but then you have a lot of objects. We have here also the different tables for the enemies, and the good thing of this role-playing thing is that you don't need a dungeon master, you need a master. So it's all it's working to make it to work randomly, like it's Warhammer Quest. You can play with a dungeon master or game director, how you want to call it, but it was not needed, because there were tables to make it random, there were missions to make it random, and there were different ways to be able to play random. So you see, and it was quite a big important book. So we had the first section that was linking games between adventures, so how to buy equipment. Then there is the warrior development, the different trainings. There is a part if you want a game master. Okay, so it was quite interesting. Of course, not the same color. I think for me this is like a jewel I have on my collection. I really love that, and you see that then you can add miniatures from all the different expansions of Warhammer Fantasy. We have the Skaven clan rise, but then we have the Assassins, the Warfire Thrower team, the Jezzails, even the Vermin Lord we have here, what is quite impressive, 75 wounds, so really a challenge. So now I see what I will use for my Vermin Lord. Here we have the Skaven Store Vermin. So you see from the Skavens we have a lot of things, but not only from the Skavens. And if we go to Undead, we have the Ghosts, the Ghouls, the Lich, the Mummies, the Necromancers, the Skeleton, the Zombies. So really it's quite interesting. I don't know when this edition was, because, to be fair, I don't know how I managed to have this in my collection, but it's really one of my favorite. This is from 1995. Okay, so here you have, this is what I want to share you, quite interesting thing. I hope you find this interesting, and also it's interesting for you to see how the miniatures have evolved. Compare this, and I know that comparing this, compare this to the Oak Void that is coming in the current Silver Tower Warhammer Quest. Okay, so you see that the miniatures have evolved quite a lot. The heroes, I will say, this was the best plastic in the 90's. Okay, this was one of the best plastic miniatures in the 90's. So, we are lucky that the technology really have evolved a lot. Okay, a little bit shiny because the paints at that moment were I did not use washes, was using inks, and the inks were a little bit shiny in that moment. My first trial to do different type of ones, and this is paint quite recently, and this is the elf that I decided to go for something completely different. Okay, maybe I will paint this too, because I think it's I'm nostalgic, and maybe as part of the blast from the past, I will paint this too and show how this can be painted with a higher standard today. So that's all what I want to share. I hope you like that. I hope you have liked what you have seen here. This is Warhammer Quest from the 90's. Here we have and the role play book. So really, and it's really, for me, it's, if you want to introduce someone to role play or to dungeon crawling game, is still a very valid and a very solid system. I really enjoy. I play this with my kids. My kids enjoy playing that. Although I have to make the games shorter because they got lost focus quite often. So yeah, that's all what I want to share here. I hope you like. Let me know what do you think. And if you like these videos that are showing some old, you see also the artwork have evolved quite a lot since that period. But if you like this type of videos, please leave it in the comment below. Let me know if you want to see more. I can show you also the Blood Bowl from the 90's. I can show you Morhaime and other things, other games that I have from the 90's. So, and we can compare this to the current version, because it really will show how some of them have changed and how some of them are almost the same with nicer miniatures. So that's all. This Warhammer Quest, I have to say that really the game system have completely changed, evolved and adapt to what is today Age of Sigmar. This was more on the traditional Warhammer Fantasy type of rules, with some modifications on the wounds, and very similar to the dungeon crawling type of games. That's all for now. Please let me know what do you think. Give a like if you have liked this video, and as usual, thanks a lot for watching, and see you again later. Bye.